Hello, everyone, and welcome to another BSides Orlando pre-show. We're thrilled to be here today because we're talking about one of my favorite things that come out of BSides. I'm Ian Meyer, the president of BSides Orlando, and I am just thrilled today to talk about our career village. And we've got Kathleen Smith here with us, who I'm going to bring in just a moment. We're going to talk about all the amazing things that are going to be happening at BSides Orlando this year. Speaking of that, none of that at all would be possible if it were not for our amazing sponsors. So we've got ReliaQuest, Hewlett Packard, AMD, Sands, Fortress, Full Sail, Black Hills, iBoss, HackerBoxes, Proofpoint, Hack5, Research Innovation sponsoring the CTF, our community sponsors of ISSA Central Florida and ISC Squared Central Florida. Many of these folks have been with us for a number of years, helping us bring content and community and growth to the Central Florida area, and we cannot thank them enough. Going on to here soon is going to be CyberSecJobs, because they also bring so much to us in kind, making sure that we have great information and resume reviews, and they've been such a huge part of the information security community for a number of years. So just make sure that you get your ticket soon. November 6th and 7th, we've got workshops. It's going to be all virtual, and you can get them on Eventbrite now. Now, I think it's just about enough of me chatting, because what we really want to talk about is villages. Villages have become such a big thing in conferences because they allow other organizations, other groups to come in and bring their expertise and bring their community and really run something and build this culture in these villages that allow the whole conference to become better. And there is no one that I can think of that embodies that more than Kathleen Smith. So let me bring her in to the stream here. Hello, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm great, Ian. How are you? It's so great to see you.
It is wonderful to see you as well. As I mentioned, Kathleen is just a staple in InfoSec. She is the Chief Marketing Officer for clearedjobs.net and cybersecurityjobs.com. She was one of the founders and one of the people who are just a key driving force in the BSides LV Career Village. She recently took part and participated in DEF CON's first career hacking village. I was very honored to be a part of that, and it was a really great experience. And not to mention the numerous job fairs and people and organizations that you've assisted. And I told you I was going to say this on the thing, and I'm going to say it again live, and so be ready. I think that the work that you do is the most important work we do, because it helps connect people to get jobs and to connect organizations and bring people in, and you're just frankly the best, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
So. I'm reminded of the movie Jerry Maguire, and there was always a newscaster that tried to get every single athlete to cry on stage. And here you were trying to get me to cry on stage. You got me to do it. So
well, I wasn't, but they are hopefully happy tears, because we all, I think, very much love you, and I'm not the only person who feels that way. So what I'd love to do now is tell us a little bit about your role and about CyberSecJobs and Cleared Jobs and kind of what you do for the community, and then maybe we'll talk about the Career Village.
Sounds great, because you and I were talking earlier about me helping someone find a job, and this is a very interesting sort of misconception in the community that I'm a staffing firm or I'm a headhunter. I am actually the Chief Marketing Officer for clearedjobs.net and cybersecjobs.com. And what are they? They are job boards. And people are like, I just don't want to use a job board. Job boards are so old hat. Job boards have been around since 1994, but every single one of the surveys that are out there about how companies find candidates, the number one way they're going to find it is through a referral. Number two is going to be through a job board. Number three is sort of, networking and maybe some social media. So I am not necessarily the person who can find you that interview, but having worked with recruiters and job seekers for the last 20 years, understanding the challenges, understanding what people sort of get tripped on, that is how I've brought that experience to any presentation I do, the creation of any of the career villages that I've been part of. It's really interesting. I've been doing this for about 6 years now in the community, being part of so many great BSides, BSides Orlando, BSides Tampa, San Antonio, Nova, Charm, DC, San Francisco, and of course, my favorite, my big family, BSides Las Vegas. So, oh, and BSides San Diego. So, what I really do in the community is sort of remind people that there are really basics to job search. Job search is really hard. It is very personal for those of us who are trying to find a job. And it's really hard to really make ourselves work toward the next step in each job search. So, getting a resume, doing the calls, filling out the applications, these are all really difficult things. And when I get out into the community, I have to remind people it is a full time job trying to find a job.
A really good point, that your organization and what you do is crucial. It's connecting organizations and jobs and postings and
Mhm.
people and getting them together, but it's not necessarily, hey, I'm gonna grab you and find you a job. So tell us a little bit about cybersec jobs and cleared jobs. Like, what's the difference, and who should
Mhm.
go to what, and how do those work?
So, both firms were a veteran owned firm. So, I'm a military spouse as well. Probably the reason why I came to work here is I am a military spouse, but I also had a marketing background. ClearJobs.net is really focused within the security cleared community. And this is for people who already have a security clearance, being able to search jobs on our job board to be able to find jobs that require their security clearance. We also help employers find those candidates by allowing them to search our resume database. We also are one of the only few firms that are job boards that also do job fairs, because really people want to talk face to face. Even in this pandemic, we're doing everything virtual. People do want to talk face to face. So we do job fairs in Florida, Texas, all throughout the Washington, D.C. area. We're really looking forward to getting back to doing face to face events in the spring. We'll do virtual events until then. And then CyberSecJobs was really an offshoot of ClearJobs.net when we were asked by the state of Maryland and the state of Texas to help them with their career affairs that are associated with cybersecurity, and really specifically focusing on transitioning veterans. But from that grew, more need for CyberSecJobs, and it's the same focus. It's a job board, not requiring security clearances, but people with cybersecurity experience. I know there are many people who are trying to break into the community. So we do have several jobs on the job board that are internships, but we also do
Oh,
job
okay.
fairs. So it's also interesting is that, most job boards are also a place that you can get information, blog articles, really giving you an opportunity to research companies. Because one of the things that I've learned through the surveying that I've done in the community about the challenges of people trying to find a job. One of the things that is a challenge for people is if they know which companies are looking for their skill set. That seems to be one of the number one, number two challenge that many people in the cybersecurity community have, is they don't know who hires for their particular skill set. So, job boards are also a place where you can go and research companies and research what kinds of jobs that they're advertising for and what kind of skill sets that they're looking for. So, that's the differentiator. They're both job boards that run job fairs. ClearJobs.net is for people with security clearances, and CyberSec jobs are for people with cybersecurity experience.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's great. And I can say from experience, the you did one in Tampa recently, and we had spoken about it and said, hey, can you come in and speak to this? And I was so impressed by the platform, really the platform that you'd set up to do something virtually like that. And we got to talk to a few
Mhm.
people and this, that, and the other. And it was really great. And we had people coming in saying, oh, I'm moving from here, I'm moving from there. And you've really tried to take the community part of it, and I think that's what I mean. What I'm so impressed with is you didn't just say, "Oh, let's get jobs and people in a chat room." You said, "Let's get people who know the area. Let's get people who
Mhm.
understand this. Let's get somebody you can talk to." Just say, "Hey, I've got kids. Is this a good area for kids? Where would I want to look?"
Mhm.
That type of forethought is incredible. So let's talk about the villages, right? You
Mhm.
recently did the one at DEF CON. You're going to be doing one for BSides Orlando. What
Mhm.
can people expect? What should they expect at the village?
So one thing that you pointed out was, the community really can focus on a village, but when someone comes to a conference, there's so many things that they want to do. There's so many different aspects that they're interested in. They want to do the talks, they want to do line con, they want to network. So whenever I put together a career village, I really don't try to do a lot. I try to be very focused because there's only so much time that people can participate in. And they, as we saw with DEF CON, people were trying to participate in everything. So when we do Besides Las Vegas, I actually survey people as to why they come into any of the career villages we do. And the number one reason why people come into a career village is to listen to the talks. And we're very fortunate. We have so many amazing people in the community who have really done surveys as far as how difficult it is to get a job in this community and what are some of the stumbling blocks. We've done surveys. I've been sending out those results over social media over the last 2 or 3 years. But we have a lot of people who are really starting now to focus on career path, career development in our community. So we'll have four specific talks. The first by our dear friend Alyssa Miller, who I always call Alyssa Milano, but especially when she did the challenge, the Jane Franklin challenge for me last year, and I was
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
embarrassed.
Mhm.
Um, but Alyssa's really pinged me a lot, and a few recruiters, actual recruiters in the community, through the back channels as to why is this so difficult. And she's done a really great job of analyzing sort of how do we translate our skill sets to be able to convince an employer to call us for an interview. And she has some really great examples. She did a phenomenal presentation at DEF CON called
What-
Barista to Cybersecurity Pro. So she's
mhm.
agreed to bring that talk to us at BSides Orlando. And then another dear friend who is part of DEF CON, but is also a friend of mine from BSides Las Vegas. We actually chatted my first day at BSides Las Vegas over 6 years ago.
Well,
Uh, Angry Hobbit, Pablo Brewer, he's really tackled the question of is it theory or experience? What,
mhm.
do we go through education? Do we go through all of the theory? Is that what I need to do to have a career in cybersecurity? Or do I take the nuts and bolts, hard school of knocks approach and do
Mhm.
experience? Or do I do a combination of the both? So it's a really fascinating discussion on which is a great path, who has done that within our community, and what examples can other people follow based on his research. And
That's
then since
awesome.
we have so many people specifically in Central Florida who are, military or transitioning military, we have Bob Wheeler, who's on my team, who was in the military, a Navy veteran. He was also a recruiter at the end of his time within the military, and he's also done a lot of writing and presenting on what are some of the things that veterans really need to be considering when they're transitioning out of the military. And if they want to continue their cybersecurity experience, how do they leverage that? Or how do they get experience so that they can bring their military experience to cybersecurity in the commercial world? And then finally, I'll bring together some of my friends who are recruiters, and we'll have just sort of a good, straightforward chat about what do they see going on in the community and how has it changed with the pandemic and what are some of the big mistakes that have happened on their end and on job seekers. Because I think one of the things that I was just fascinated with when I first came into the community was that so many people hated recruiters. They just, made fun of them, and they sort of called them every single
Mhm.
dirty name in the book. And I don't think they realized that that was one segment of the recruiting world, that
Mhm.
there are a lot of recruiters. I mean, I can tell you after all these years of doing the career villages, and everyone who does the resume review is a recruiter,
Mhm.
and I have them come in, and they're all willing to give their time. So one, get to know some of these recruiters. So that's why we'll have a panel discussion, a chat. We'll have some great stories from Rachel Bozeman over at Lumen, formerly CentureLink, Kristen Renner from Novetta, and a few other surprise recruiters. So that's great. So
Ooh.
that's the content section
Oh
of
yeah.
the Career Village. But wait, there's more.
Oh, wait, there's more.
There's more. Everyone asked me to look at their resume on Discord. I can't tell you how many times I've done resume review.
Right.
Whenever we do resume review in any of the villages that I'm part of, I have a firm rule. It is a direct recruiter that is going to be the person who's going to be doing your resume review. I appreciate that you have a buddy that wants to review your resume. I appreciate that you're a hiring manager and you've
Mhm.
done a resume, but you really need the feedback from a recruiter to tell you why your resume is not getting through the various different steps.
Couldn't agree more.
And given the number of resumes that I've reviewed on Discord and various different channels, there are so many misconceptions out there about what people need to do with their resume. Please don't make it pretty. Don't put the graphs in there. It's only going to confuse the issue. So get rid of those. I'll tell you that right now. One tip right now that you don't have to hear at resume review. And then career coaches. So we talk about mentoring a lot in the community. We talk about someone coaching you. And I think we have to remember that a mentor or a career coach is someone who's going to kick you in the butt. It is not someone who's going to pat you on the head and tell you that it's all right. So if you're going to come in for career coaching, be prepared for somebody to give you some really straight answers. And that's what you should do to prepare for that. So I know we were going to talk about it, but I'm going to roll right into it. So if you want to come be part of resume review, don't bring your resume that you haven't really worked on. Really make sure that it's your final and your best resume that you bring to the resume review, because I can tell you that you're still going to have a lot of work to do after that resume. But also be very clear when you're bringing your resume that you understand what kind of job you want, because that's going to be one of the questions that the resume reviewer is going to ask you. Well, what do you want to do? And this is the biggest question that a lot of people cannot answer in our community. They just say, I want to be a pen tester. Well, why? Why do you want to be a pen tester? Why do you want to be in crypto? Really make sure you know those answers, because the resume reviewer is going to help you convey your story on your resume. And that's what you want, the story that's coming from the heart, the story of the passion that you want to bring to the community. They're going to help you craft that story in your resume. But if you don't know what you want to do, if you have no clue why you want to do it, I don't think it's going to be, a very fulfilling situation for you to not be able to get a resume that conveys that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was at Circle City Con doing a resume review, and all these
Mm.
people were putting stuff on their resume that wasn't their passion. But I could read their passion in between the lines. And I said, I think you really like talking to people. I think you really like managing staff, which, not many of us could say that.
Right. Yeah.
And they were and they were like, "Well, yeah, I do. How did you see that?" And I was like, it's there, but you're hiding it. Why are you hiding it? We need people who are leaders and managers in this community. Really put
Mhm.
it for the forefront. Not everyone's going to just want you for your certs and your languages. They're going to want you for the other skills you bring for it. And a career coach, sorry.
No,
Uh,
no. It was funny as I was going to interrupt because this is one of my favorite parts about you, and I was going to brag on you more, so you're just going to have to hear it. One of the first times that I met you was a few years ago when we had our B-sides, and when we were done, I went back to the team and I was like, she's amazing. She just shows up ready, prepared, drops in like I'm picturing you coming out of a C-130 with a parachute, just dropping it. It's like just fine, you got it. I'll go back here. We're good. No, and I mean that in the most wonderful way. It's incredible. You know what you're doing and everything like that. And on a personal note, what's funny is what you say about the graphics on the resume. When I did the resume review at BSides LV a few years ago, I was like, oh, I'm going to do something really cool, and I'll have my picture up there, and this, that, and the other. And I got the same feedback, and not long after that, I got a great job where I'm at now, and I credit some of that to because I was like, oh well, more polished looks more polished. Like, no, more focused looks more focused, like that kind of thing. So, which leads us into focus and career. So let's talk about career coaching.
So career coaching, one thing that it's sad because with DEF CON, we had so much need for career coaching, and there were a few people that I could not accept, and I really felt badly not being able to accept them because there were people like, well, I coach a lot of people all the time.
Mhm,
And it's not necessarily that we're looking for career coaches, people who sort of do this all the time. We're looking for people who have different career paths. So when I get the volunteers who want to do the career coaching, I look at the agenda and I look at the community that's coming, and then I try to find the right mix. This isn't, me picking my friends. This is,
mhm,
okay, we're focusing on healthcare. I got to make sure that we have a few people who've done security in healthcare as part of the career coaching. We've got a lot of people here who are, military. Well, I've got to make sure I've got a few veterans who are either pen testers or moving into management. Okay. I have to make sure that I also have people who have done finance. I have two or three really phenomenal career coaches who are CISOs in financial institutions. That's very rare. So when I pick people who are career coaching, I'm letting everyone know it's sort of, I'm like a chef in a kitchen, and I want to make sure it's the best cake possible, but that
mhm,
requires many different ingredients. And sometimes I'll have someone who only has 4 or 5 years experience, but if they're the only person I know
mhm,
who's submitted to career coaching to be a volunteer, and he's the only person that has gaming experience, and everyone in the community that's coming wants someone with gaming experience.
mhm,
We have so many phenomenal people who also do policy, and I always try to make sure that we have some, cybersecurity policy people who are there. And I just felt so badly with DEF CON. I had two or three people who said, I coach all the time. Well, I appreciate that, but
mhm,
I need an engineer. I need someone who's done VR. I have to have someone who's done,
mhm,
casinos. So
mhm,
I really look at that mix. And
mhm,
there's some people, yes, who come all the time, but they're the, only people I know who have 20 years of DoD experience, but also have, been doing a lot of broadcasting. So
mhm,
it's really looking at that background. And that's why when I have the application for people to be volunteers, I have them put a bio in. And sometimes people say, I've been in the community for 20 years. I'm like, okay, no, you have to tell me what you're doing in the community and why and so on. And I always have, the motto, coach, don't poach. So there are some people who come in who want to
do that.
just come in and talk to people who might be
Right.
potential candidates. And no, this is about giving back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've got some, and that's a really good point. And I noticed that as well, and I think that's what differentiates what you do and what you bring to this community is that you do pay attention to things like that. Like I said, it's the attention to detail to say, hey, I can't have 15 people that do nothing but red team and that's all they've done. Well,
Mhm.
what are you going to tell someone who's got years of STIGs experience or DoD compliance experience? What are you going to tell them in the private sector? So yeah, it's great. We got a couple questions in the comments and some other things here. And they've been kind of flowing in, so let's touch on them real quick. Tabitha here says the articles sent on the email newsletter for CyberSecJobs have been valuable not only for using the platform but also for career advice. So you're sending newsletters out. How do people get signed up for those?
You just go to the website and there's an email sign up form. Or if you can't find it, just send me an email or a DM and I'm happy to add you. Thank you, Tabitha.
Excellent. We've also got, and just kind of a verification of what you'd mentioned before there. So we saw this multiple times. The fancy I am guilty. I am a sinner walking amongst us. I had the graphics. I had the things, and I was brought to the light. So yeah, absolutely.
Hey, John. Good to see you.
Indeed. Let's see. And one last, which is kind of a question, which is kind of a great, as I'm looking at this, noob in the industry. So this is Mark, but have life experience. But how do we sell other management or supervisor experience? Been told by a few not to go entry level per se, but sell your life skills. Well, how do you feel about that statement?
So it's really hard to quantify life skills. You may be, I'm the eldest of 5 kids. And so I can tell you, I know how to manage a bunch of unruly people. But what I always go back to manage, what volunteer experience do you have? And this is the surveys that we've been doing for a number of years, is the skills that you gain through volunteering. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with a con or an organization, but how can you quantify that, you were the manager of a volunteer workforce who had to do, something for the community. That is a life experience that can be portrayed to a potential manager or employer, because they can then, okay, I can see that, if you had to manage 10 volunteers for 2 years and you needed to accomplish specific goals, they're able to see, okay, you have that life experience and this is how it conveys. When we did our community survey, we were able to show that people gained life experience, gained non-technical skills through leadership, communication, project management, and networking, which are all the skills, the non-technical skills that employers are looking for right now. But being able to say, okay, well, I've been part of BSides for 3 years, I managed the security force, and you have stories to tell, you have experience to share, versus saying, I've had a tough time. I mean, a lot of us have had a tough time. I had to counsel somebody this morning about being kicked out at the age of 18. I was kicked out at the age of 14. So, we have those kinds of experiences, but that's not something that a employer can quantify. It's not sort of how they can convey how you're going to work for them. So I always recommend for someone who's a noob, get as much volunteering in the community experience as possible. Be sure you're writing that down. Be sure you're gaining that networks, because it's through the networking that you're going to get your next job.
Absolutely. I think it's really great. And Tabitha threw in here volunteering for the win, which is what I tell people all the time. And I really think this thought here really kind of ties everything together, because you volunteer so much of your time, even beyond, just doing it for for CyberSecJobs and cleared jobs. The stuff that you do for the community to bring people together and whatnot is well beyond that. And I tell students, I tell mentees, I tell everyone, like, if you're to the question Mark had, come volunteer at BSides Orlando. We have our BSides Orlando volunteer sheet up on bsidesorlando.org. Meet people, because if you've got passion, that's great. But if I see you've got work ethic, now when I see an opportunity, I'm going to be like, I trust that person. They showed up, they lifted the boxes, they did the thing, they keep their word. And that's someone that I want to invest in. And you invest in our community every single day. So I can't thank you enough for being here today. This has been wonderful. Thank you for running our career village. I cannot wait to see you again in person when we can do that. I'll try next time. That's right. So Kathleen, thank you for your time. We're going to send you off. Looking forward to the career village. So
take care. Thanks.
Bye. All right, everyone. That was another B-Sides pre-show. We appreciate you showing up and taking time out of your day to talk to us. Again, I'm Ian Meyer. I'm Ian Meyer at Ian Meyer on Twitter, I should say. Remember, B-Sides Orlando tickets on sale now. Come to the Career Village. Have Kathleen and this wonderful group of people help coach you, hear the talks, get the resume reviews, and get the advice that you need to help really boost your career. A couple other quick notes. There was some talks that were mentioned from the DEF CON Career Hacking Village. So if you wanted to check out some of those talks or some of the other versions of them, or really get an idea of what's going on, the Hacking Village channel is up. You can search Career Hacking Village on YouTube. It is a different kind of organization, and also the people that are going to be talking at the B-Sides Orlando Village, they're going to be there. You'll be able to chat with them, ask them other questions in Discord. It's really, really invaluable. So you can get even more feedback there and also come check things out. Last note is hey, guess what? We've got another one of these coming up, and this one's going to be a technical dive. So we're going to have Tara Wheeler back and our own Tabitha DiDomenico from B-Sides Orlando. They are going to talk, and also with Charlotte Wilson, if she's able to attend. They're going to talk about using Git. We did a nerd list introduction previously on our pre-show, and a lot of people said, hey, I know about password hashes and I know how this stuff works, but hey, wait a minute. I really don't understand Git. Like, how do I, once I want to submit something to this project, how do I do that? Well, guess what? We are going to cover that on November 1st at 4 p.m. Eastern time. You can use this link here. We'll put it into the chat here, but it's also on our B-Sides Orlando Twitter. So again, thank you for spending time with us. We hope to see you again soon. We hope to see you at B-Sides Orlando. And if you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter. You can always email us as well. And I want to take 1 second again to thank all of our sponsors that we mentioned at the beginning of the show. We couldn't do this stuff without them. So have a great day. See you on November 1st. And then hopefully again on the 6th and 7th. Workshops are up, and you have a good one.